I want to thank Naomi. Thanks to the Federalist Society and the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy for this panel. I want to start by taking up what I take to be Steve's challenge a little bit in discussing some of the continuity between the Bush administration's policies and that of the Obama administration. But I promise not to spend too much time because I want to mostly focus upon areas where we've seen some real disagreement, particularly some of the charged political issues that we've seen in the news over the last couple of months. At the risk of 30-second sound bites and with appreciation for Steve's nuance, it seems to me that, the list of Bush-era policies that have been continued in the Obama administration are frankly undeniable. The global war on terror. Now, we don't use the phrase global war on terror anymore, or maybe now we do, but the Obama administration has asserted that it is involved in a global armed conflict against al-Qaeda. Not only has the authority to go after al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and in Iraq, but it can do it in Pakistan, it can do it in Yemen, it could do it in Somalia, and literally it could do it worldwide wherever al-Qaeda is operating. It's a pretty striking assertion. It was controversial when President Bush announced it, and frankly, I was a party to some of those conversations with foreign skeptics. But it is the same position that the administration has taken. I think it's right. Likewise, there's been a lot of focus and a lot of criticism against the administration about the detention without charges at Guantanamo Bay. Candidate Obama was harshly critical of the Bush administration's policies. And what have we learned? Well, we've learned that President Obama can detain without charges individuals at Guantanamo Bay. He can prosecute some, just like the Bush administration did. But in principle and in practice, he intends to hold dozens of individuals indefinitely and without trial. And as to who they are, there was a lot of concern over the definition of enemy combatant. Once again, we've removed the term enemy combatant from the new administration's lexicon. But it turns out, once we've done that, we're still left with the very same people, or just say substantially the same people. Because the only difference is really the addition of the adverb substantially to the Obama administration's definition. Finally, we would think when it comes to Gitmo, we talk about habeas corpus. And again, the left and candidate Obama was harshly critical of the Bush administration's policy with respect to Guantanamo Bay and habeas corpus. It was an outrage that for the first time in history, we've taken the position that habeas corpus did not extend to Guantanamo Bay. Of course it does. It's the great writ. It's a 1,000-year history. But of course, now that the Obama administration is in power and in control of Gitmo, what do we find? We find that on the one hand, Gitmo really is a singularity, and Boumediene, despite my former boss, Justice Kennedy's lengthy opinion, it turns out it really was just about the special nature of Gitmo and the special nature of the lease that the United States has with Gitmo. It doesn't extend to Bagram, and it doesn't extend really beyond Gitmo to really anywhere else. Actually, add even one more. The administration is currently arguing that even Boumediene, with all its talk about the costs of delay can no longer be borne by the individuals who are kept in detention, doesn't actually mean that federal courts can order these individuals to be released, at least not into the United States. And that's the position that's being argued in the Kamba case, which is on the docket. So, I could go on, military commissions, state secrets, domestic surveillance, the Patriot Act, but really with the notable exception of the CIA's interrogation program, the Obama administration has effectively preserved, with nuance, with tweaks, and frankly, in some cases, with improvements, but they've preserved the national security programs that were in place, at the time George Bush left office. So, this is now a new sort of open secret, and it's something that's been talked about after the first year of the Obama administration. But, unsurprisingly, perhaps, we're not in a situation where there's large bromides to the new bipartisan consensus of how we should fight the war on terror. To the contrary, what we tend to see is some harsh political debates on both sides. The Obama administration, with its talk of restoring the rule of law after its 8-year hiatus, is heavily invested in portraying its policies as sharply divergent from its predecessor. And many of the president's critics are likewise not willing to cut the administration some slack. But in practice, beyond the mutual political self-interest, what we do have is we have a number of policies within this broader legal framework where the Obama administration has taken sort of a sharply different tone. And I just want to touch on a few of them sort of quickly. But starting with just Guantanamo Bay and the order to close it. Second day in office, the president ordered that Guantanamo Bay to be closed. Now, again, this was portrayed as a sharp break with policies of his predecessor. Of course, the policies of the Bush administration were, since 2006, actually to close, that Guantanamo Bay had become an international problem and that it should be closed. Right or wrong, that may or may not have been the right call, but the rate of detainees leaving Guantanamo Bay in 06 and 07 and 08, for 07 and 08 is basically the same as 09. It was about 50 or so a year. But of course, the president took the opportunity in ordering Guantanamo closed to emphasize that he was restoring due process and our core constitutional values. Number two, what's interesting about this executive order is President Obama asserted it unilaterally, based solely on an executive order. He didn't say, I want to close Guantanamo, I'm going to Congress to find out how to do it. Rather, he said, within 1 year, Guantanamo would be closed. That year expired last Friday, as many of you, I'm sure, are aware. Finally, and this is, I think, most troubling on this score, President Obama ordered that Guantanamo be closed without really having a clue of how he was going to do it. He didn't know who we would release. He didn't know who we would keep. He didn't know what we would do with the people we would keep. He didn't know where we would put them, where in the United States. They kind of assumed, well, surely Leavenworth must have room for these guys. He didn't know who we would prosecute. He didn't know how we would prosecute them. Would he use the federal courts? Would he use the military commissions? He did set up some task force, and they thought about it, and a year later, they do have some concrete ideas. But in the year that's passed, we lost an opportunity, or the administration anyway lost an opportunity if it wanted to close Guantanamo. And now it's in a situation where the political climate is not getting any better, and in all likelihood, as some folks are starting to predict, Guantanamo may not be closed for the course of this administration, frankly. Talk briefly again about the KSM prosecution. What we know for sure is that the decision to try KSM and his co-conspirators for the 9/11 attacks in Lower Manhattan is clearly going to be a logistical and security nightmare, costing in excess of $200 million. We also know that KSM could not hope for a better stage on which to wage a continuing propaganda war. Now, the question is, what are the benefits we're getting from this? The Obama administration has supported the reenactment and the improvements that were made to the military commissions process. That's gone forward. It has said that military commissions are a traditional and appropriate forum for prosecution of war crimes during during an armed conflict. Now, we have a situation in which 3,000 American civilians and military personnel were killed. The individuals who have been picked up by intelligence agencies. The evidence against them involves, to a large degree, considerable intelligence and sources and methods, even if they have confessions and even if the guilt phase actually moves forward, which is my guess as to what the administration is hoping. There's still a universe, reams and reams of classified information that is likely discoverable by the defendants in these cases, and if they choose to contest it, there's going to be severe national security problems. But more generally, what would the administration, if the military commission system is not for this case, really raises the question of what it's for and why the administration has taken the political cost of defending the commissions and whatnot. But let me stop there, and maybe we can talk about some of the other issues going on, such as Abdul Muttalib, in the question and answer. Thanks.
A little spirited